Good afternoon to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your hurricane outlook and discussion for Monday, July 23rd, 2018. Let's take a look at what's happening in the tropics, which, honestly, not much at all. Nothing over the next 48 hours, nor 120 hours in the Atlantic Basin. In the eastern Pacific, a couple of areas of disturbances, both of which are low chances for development over the next 3 to 5, 2 days, 5 days, whatever. Basically, globally, the tropics are nice and quiet in terms of anything intense. Even in the western Pacific, a couple of tropical storms out that way, but no typhoons, at least as of the moment that I'm recording this. So things are generally nice and quiet. Looking in the Atlantic Basin, you can see really not much convective activity at all in the deep tropics. One tropical wave coming off the west coast of Africa. Coming off with it, more Saharan air layer, dust and dry air at the mid-levels. So this will not develop, it doesn't look like. Looking in the west central Atlantic, I guess, trying to get my words right. Upper level low spinning here, another upper level low spinning here. And in between, lots of moisture coming up the east coast and into the interior sections as well. So please be aware of the possibility of very, very heavy rainfall from time to time in the mid-Atlantic states, parts of the southeast, but also for interior areas. I mean, you can see that southerly flow right up here through Pennsylvania. Anywhere where there's elevation, gravity takes over, and you get heavy rainfall and flooding. It can be very, very problematic, and this is going to be an issue over the next couple of days, maybe longer, so please stay on top of that. In the eastern Pacific, things, like I said, nice and quiet, although probably because of the warmer water temperatures out this way, more convective activity, but nothing organizing into a tropical cyclone anytime soon. So we move along now to one of the parameters that I like to watch closely, and that is the Southern Oscillation Index. Right now, the 30-day value practically back at zero, so it's negative 0.13, which is statistically zero. The 90-day is up to minus 1.7. And remember, these numbers, I'm looking for minus 7 or lower. And that tells me that this is, more in an El Nino state than what we're seeing now, which is more neutral. And even the daily contributor is a feeble minus 3.5. And you can see, just looking at the overall pattern here, in the trend lines, up, up, up we go with the 30-day. And even the 90-day has had a gradual rise. And so this just tells me again that the El Nino pattern in the tropical Pacific is not very strong right now. It's not, the force is not strong with El Nino for now. Let's just say that. And you can see that reflected in the anomalies chart here, which updated today. There's still some, positive, warmer anomalies down in the tropical Pacific, yes, but it's just not that much, and there's a few patches of cool showing up here and here. The Nino 1-2 area down here still quite a bit colder than it should be, and I don't see this changing anytime soon. In the Atlantic, the main development region, generally colder than average, or right where it should be, depending on which data set you look at. But one thing is indisputable, and I'm going to keep showing this. If we go back to June and compare it to now, there has been a warm-up for sure in the deep tropics. But, overall, if you look at the Atlantic, there's really nothing there that jumps out except up here in the far northern latitudes of the subtropics. Look at the scale. I mean, this is slightly above normal. Not until you get over here is it, really eye-opening. And that's what this is. It's pretty darn warm compared to average. Everything else is just that first coloration, or whatever, the first color in the gradient, if you will. So the Atlantic's overall not too much warmer and not too much colder, except right here, and this is in the subtropics anyway. So no alarming trends one way or the other, to be honest with you. And I guess that's good news. Things seem to be generally in balance, so that's good. Looking at the subsurface here for the eastern Pacific and beyond, and really this is the area that I am most interested in, right through here. This is right off the coast of South America, a cooling trend going on. But a bulk of the warmth in the subsurface is, isolated to right in here. So there's just not that much overall energy in the subsurface to fuel a big-time El Nino, not anytime soon. And this updates every few days or so, so we'll keep watching as this moves on. So looking at actual sea surface temperatures, boy, I'm telling you, I definitely feel for you guys down here along the Gulf Coast, from Mobile over to Houston, especially the I-10 corridor and then points north. Several people I've seen, Zach Fridella, Dave Nussbaum, Bill Reed, former director of the National Hurricane Center, of course, out of Houston, all mentioning dew points in the 80s, low 80s, 80, 81 degree dew points, the actual measurement of the moisture in the air. That's horrifying. It really is. I mean, I like summer, and convection and storminess. I like a good beach day too, but I'm not a big fan of cold unless it's cold and stormy. I'm an extreme weather guy. I like it when things are a little off kilter. You got to be careful what you wish for. I get that, but I don't have any control over that. Nevertheless, 80 degree dew points, you can't even do anything. And I noticed on Facebook over here in the Houston-Galveston area, Bill Reed said he was going to go play golf in that dew point. He said he was going to sweat through 4 pairs of gloves. I thought that was funny. Anyhow, the Gulf of Mexico, very warm. But how warm is it compared to average? It's slightly above overall. This is crazy. Look at that right there, a little patch of blue just south of Louisiana there, the toe of Louisiana. And if we look at that on the actual sea surface temperature, that's about right in here, 29 degrees Celsius. So it's a little bit cooler than it should be. That's hard to believe. Looking at the East Coast, water temperatures here still kind of struggling in the wake of Hurricane Chris, which left this mess back here, if you will, a hole in the sea surface temperature profile. And that's what I mean when I talk about the upper ocean heat content, which I'll show you in a moment. The Gulf Stream's over here, but Chris sat right about here, churned up the water underneath itself, and eventually upwelled cooler water, and it's taking some time for that to dissipate and mix out into the warmer regime that's prevalent across the western Atlantic. Again, up along the Delmarva, through Jersey and Long Island and beyond, your water temperatures 25, 24, 23, 22 Celsius. So we're talking upper 70s Fahrenheit. Tolerable, especially if it's 95 degrees and at the beach itself. But I like it further south here, where it's 28 Celsius, 27, 28, whatever, 82, 83. That's my kind of water temperature. Now look, I want to show you this chart. This is what really starts to matter as we get a few more weeks down the road until the peak of the hurricane season really starts to pick up. I really do think it's going to be quiet for the next week to 10 days, barring something forming out of nowhere, so to speak. Generally that doesn't happen. As you know, you need something to kickstart something to happen, but I think the pattern suggests for the next week to 10 days the Atlantic will be very quiet. But once we get into latter August through September, then the upper ocean heat content's really going to come into play. So this is the Cabo Verde Islands. We used to call them the Cape Verde Islands. That's 10 degrees north latitude. Here are your windward and leeward islands through here. And so you really don't get into the upper ocean heat content at any value worth anything until about 50 degrees longitude right here and points west. So a bulk of the main development region is lacking in heat content, no doubt about it. So that's good in one sense, but bad in that you can get these tropical waves coming off, and maybe they don't start developing until they're over here or over here. And I've talked about this before, so I'm going over something you might have heard already. But I want to be showing you this probably every week, and we'll see how this progresses. And I can compare these because they save all the images. I mean, these are online going all the way back to at least 2005 for what it's worth. So we'll watch this more and more. Obviously, the most upper ocean heat content resides in the western part of the basin, and that's where a bulk of the people live. So we'll be watching this as it progresses. Nothing to take advantage of it anytime soon, though. All right, so we'll end at a 7-day look at the GFS at the 5,000 foot level, the 850 millibar level of the atmosphere, and we are looking for two things, at least I am. And again, I just like to show you what I look at. This isn't the right way. It's not how, all meteorologists at the Hurricane Center or whatever do it. And remember, I'm a physical geographer. My degree is in geography. So I'm an earth scientist, and I know a lot about meteorology, but I don't have a degree in meteorology, so I don't call myself a meteorologist. I mean, it's just the way it is. But that being said, I have my own way of looking at certain clues and patterns, and as a weather geek, certain things stand out. And the shape and size of this huge ridge out here, that's really cool. Giant subtropical ridge, trough carved out over here along the eastern part of the country, and then there's another ridge over the west, as you well know. You've been, very hot from Texas and points west, and it'll probably stay that way for a ways to come. And then you got the tropics down here. So let's just watch and put this into motion over the next 7 days, and you see how this ebbs and flows. It breathes in and out as the day and night cycles come, and then the center of it, the axis shifts, east some, west some. But you also noticed across the deep tropics and anywhere else, no organized areas of vorticity, or no round blobs coming off and then moving west. What are these up here? Hey, Mark, those are round blobs. Well, these are all up in the jet stream. These are mid-latitude storms, and those don't bother us down in the deep tropics. So this shows you a couple things, that it's going to be nice and quiet all through the deep tropics over the next week, even up into the Gulf and Western Caribbean. And, the Bermuda Azores high out here, or what we call the subtropical ridge, just kind of moving around, sloshing around in the atmosphere, so forth and so on. Now, I did read a few blogs from some long-range forecasters suggesting that after a week's time, and you can see it starting to happen here, that the western extent will start to take over and edge more west, and we'll get a Bermuda high setting up stronger, basically so that it'll be much more robust over here than expanding out to the eastern Atlantic. So that'll do a couple of things. It'll bring the heat and humidity back to the east, minus the rain, and it'll slow the trades out here. The tropical waves may have a chance to develop, and that's beyond the week to 10-day time frame. And what happens then? We're in early August. So maybe after about a week to 10 days, we start to look for signs of things picking up. All right, I think that's a good way to end things for today. So generally a positive overall outlook to things, nothing to worry about anytime soon. No major surprises in the anomalies department, up or down. No raging El Nino coming. No screaming Atlantic anomalies on the plus side. So maybe that means we'll just have an average overall season, a garden variety, whatever that means, hurricane season. But that being said, you can still have major damage and loss of life in an average season. Paying attention to the big time years like last year and 2005 or 2008 or 04 or whatever, just remember, even your average season can come with a great deal of pain and suffering. I don't mean to end on a negative note, but all things are pointing towards, at least in my opinion and for how I'm looking at things, at an average season ahead. We've already had 2 hurricanes, so if we have 5 more, that wouldn't surprise me a bit. Alrighty, but nothing anytime soon. Have a great rest of your Monday. As always, thanks for tuning in. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel that you're watching this upon, HurricaneTrack, now's a good time to do so. But make sure you hit the notifications button. When I do a video, you'll get alerted on mobile, whatever, and you'll know when I post a video. Have a good rest of your Monday. I know I already said that, but I'll remind you to do it again. I'll be back again with more tomorrow, probably short and sweet because there's not much to talk about. And we'll just continue on as things progress towards the eventual uptick in activity. Until then, have a good one. I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. We'll talk again tomorrow.